Breathe in and out. Feel that subtle, deep, and quiet hum beneath the noise of your daily thoughts. And in that quiet space, you can feel it, can't you? A profound and unshakable sense of being. Stuck. Come closer and listen, not with your ears, but with the quiet, still center of your being. I want you to consider a question, a gentle whisper in the vast space of your awareness. Who is it that is listening right now? Is it the same self that woke in your bed this morning? The one who carries the weight of yesterday? Is it the self your family knows, a reflection in their loving eyes? Is it the self you wear like a carefully chosen uniform to your work, precise and defined? Or is it another, one that only breathes in the deep, silent hours of the night, a secret keeper of dreams and sorrows? We believe we are a single, solid thing, a name, a history, a personality set in stone. But the deepest spiritual traditions and the most advanced neuroscience are beginning to sing the same. Mysterious song, you are not one self. You are a symphony of many. These shifts between them, for most of our lives, are as effortless and unconscious as breathing. A fluid dance from one moment to the next. But this is a gentle inquiry, not a judgment. What happens when the music stops? What happens when one of these selves, one of these stories, ceases to be a dance and becomes a cage? What happens when the story of who you have been feels less like a foundation and more like a life sentence, trapping you on a timeline, a destiny you never consciously chose to write? Neuroscience now shows that these different selves are not imaginary. They are real, measurable brain states. And this is what that loop feels like. As if you are walking a path that has been worn so deep into the earth by your own footsteps that its walls have risen up around you. It is familiar. It is safe. And yet, your soul knows. It is profoundly and deeply wrong. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's a nervous system trapped in an old identity pattern. You have tried to change, haven't you? You have set the goals. You have made the resolutions. You have summoned all your willpower, only to feel an invisible current pull you back into the same cycles, the same echoes of thought, the same invisible boundaries. It feels like you are fighting against gravity itself, a force of nature. But what if I were to tell you that the force holding you in place is not outside of you? What if that gravity is not a law of the universe, but a structure built inside your own mind, inside your own beautiful, complex brain? And what if I were to tell you that there exists a way to gently, lovingly dismantle that structure? Neuron by sacred neuron, and in its place, build a new reality. This is not another conversation about self-help. This is not about trying harder. This is an invitation to a deeper awareness. This is a manual for a quiet, profound, neurological awakening. A gentle turning of a key in a lock you never knew was there. So, let us together, with gentle curiosity, examine this invisible prison. It is not made of steel or stone. It is made of stories. It is your self-concept, the grand targenton, sprawling narrative of you that has been written, edited, and rewritten over decades of your life. Every single experience, every triumph that lifted you up, every failure that brought you to your knees, every careless word someone spoke over you, every loving glance that held you, all of it helped to write this epic story. And modern neuroscience reveals a breathtaking truth. This story is not just a fleeting thought or a distant memory. It is physically woven into the very fabric of your brain. encoded in the intricate web of your neural connections. The vast majority of who we believe we are instant reactions. Our most deeply held beliefs, the habits that run our days, is programmed far beneath the surface of our conscious mind. A subconscious tapestry woven from this lifelong conditioning. Imagine your mind as a vast, quiet landscape at the dawn of time, and your thoughts are like the first rains, trickling as streams of pure water over years. That water carves grooves into the soft earth. Now imagine that the deepest, widest, most powerful canyon in this entire landscape has been carved by a single persistent thought, I am not worthy, or I am not capable. Every time you face a new challenge, a new possibility, where do you think your mental energy, like water, will naturally flow? It will flood into that deep, familiar canyon. This is the profound secret behind why sheer willpower so often fails us. Trying to act confident or be disciplined when your brain's core programming is pulling all of your energy toward that canyon is like trying to force a river to flow uphill using only a bucket. It is an exhausting, impossible battle. And eventually, gravity wins. The water finds its way back to the old, comfortable, and deeply grooved path. This is the timeline you feel trapped on. It is a future that feels like a direct, predictable, and inescapable extension of your past. Because the brain that is creating your future is the very same brain that was built, shaped, and conditioned by your past, your identity. This story becomes a pair of glasses you cannot take off. It literally colors your perception of reality. It determines whether a new event is filtered as an opportunity to be embraced or a threat to be feared. It dictates how you respond to pressure, how you metabolize failure, and what you believe is even possible for a person like you. This epic narrative is primarily curated and maintained by a very special network in your brain called the default mode network, or DMN. Think of the DMN not as a warden, but as your brain's own internal filmmaker, its resident poet and historian. The DMN is most active when your mind is turned inward, when you are daydreaming, reminiscing about the past, or contemplating the future. Its sacred job is to gather the scattered scenes of your life and edit them into a coherent, flowing movie titled Me. But when this network becomes rigid, overactive, or stuck in a loop, it transforms from a creative filmmaker into a tireless archivist of pain. It forces you to endlessly re-watch the documentary of your past regrets and failures, playing the story of the old you on a deafening, internal loop. It makes it nearly impossible to even imagine a sequel with a different protagonist, a different journey, a different ending. But now, breathe in this next truth. Let it settle into your awareness, for it changes everything. Your brain is not, and has never been, set in stone for centuries. We believe that after a certain point in childhood, the brain hardened like cement, its structures fixed for life. We now know, with unshakable certainty, that this is fundamentally untrue. I want you to think of your brain less like a finished marble sculpture, and more like a sacred block of soft, living clay, one that remains pliable, responsive, and workable for your entire life. This divine, innate ability to be reshaped by your own focus and intention is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the master key, the sacred principle that can unlock any prison your identity has ever built. It operates on a simple, yet profoundly powerful law of creation. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you have a thought, every time you feel an emotion, every time you perform an action, you activate a specific constellation of neurons. It is like taking a first, tentative step into a dense, untrodden forest, clearing a faint footpath. The more you repeat that thought, the more you return to that emotion. The more you practice that action, the more you walk that path. You are sending a signal to the universe of your mind that this path is important. So the path widens from a faint trail into a well-trodden road. And eventually, with enough focus and repetition, it becomes a 6-lane superhighway, effortless, automatic, and immediate. Conversely, there is a beautiful balancing principle. The pathways that are no longer used begin to gently weaken in a process called synaptic pruning. This is the use it or lose it principle of the brain. But see it not as a loss, but as a holy recycling. Those old, overgrown trails of negative thinking and self-doubt you wish to abandon if you simply stop walking them. The forest of your mind will gently and lovingly reclaim them. Vines of new growth and flowers of new possibility will cover the path until it fades back into the landscape. Its energy returned to the whole. This means you can build the brain you desire, on purpose. This is not a metaphor. This is not a feel-good platitude. It is a physical, biological, spiritual reality. Consider the classic, beautiful study of London taxi drivers. To earn their license, they are required to memorize the knowledge, a staggering labyrinth of over 25,000 streets and countless points of interest. It is a monumental feat of memory. Neuroscientists, curious about this process, scanned their brains. They discovered that these drivers had physically larger, denser, and more richly connected regions in their hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for spatial memory. And the longer they had been on the job, the more pronounced and magnificent these physical changes were. Their brains had literally, physically, rebuilt themselves to meet the demands of their chosen focus. Their brains had blossomed. This exact same process of blossoming applies to the story of you. Your current identity is simply a skill you have been practicing, consciously or unconsciously, your entire life. The identity of the procrastinator is nothing more than a set of neural superhighways for avoidance and distraction that have become powerfully automatic. The identity of the anxious person is simply a brain that, through repetition, has become exceptionally efficient at activating its fear circuits. But just as the taxi drivers did, you can give your brain a new job, a sacred new commission. The job of being the disciplined creator, the job of being the calm and confident leader. Through gentle, deliberate, and loving practice, you can physically build a brain that supports and sustains your new identity. This is the art of self-directed neuroplasticity. And it is how you consciously, intentionally, and peacefully step off your old timeline and begin to walk a new one. To become the conscious architect of yourself, you must first be introduced to the executive team currently running the corporation of you. Let us imagine your brain as a grand, silent headquarters. As we've discussed, the first and most influential member is the Default Mode Network, DMN. This is not a villain, but the company's devoted historian. It resides in a vast, quiet library, constantly referencing the archives of your past to define who you are in the present. In states we label as depression or anxiety, this well-meaning historian becomes obsessed, locking you in a dusty boardroom to review all the company's past failures and losses on an endless, painful loop. To shift your identity, you must learn how to gently guide this historian. You must learn to hand it new files to archive new moments of success, new experiences of joy, new evidence of your becoming. But this historian does not work in isolation. It is in a constant, dynamic dance with the other departments. One of the most powerful players is the salience network SN. Think of the SN as your brain's spotlight operator, sitting high in the rafters of the theater of your mind. Its critical job is to scan the entire stage of your internal and external world and decide what is important, what is salient enough to deserve the focused beam of your attention. This is the secret behind your different selves. When you walk into a tense meeting, the spotlight operator illuminates the need for professionalism, and a specific version of you emerges. When you are home with a loved one, it softens the light, changing the set for intimacy mode. The profound implication is this: by consciously and deliberately choosing what you focus on, you are training your spotlight operator. You are teaching it to highlight new thoughts, new feelings, and new behaviors as important. This is a critical step in making a new identity feel not just possible, but real and true. Finally, we meet the two most powerful forces in the headquarters, the CEO and the ancient head of security. The prefrontal cortex, PFC, located right behind your forehead, is the forward-thinking, visionary CEO. It is the seat of your higher consciousness, in charge of logic, reason, long-term planning, and holding the vision for change. But your brain's number one priority is not growth. It is survival. And so, the moment you try to step beyond the familiar boundaries of your comfort zone, the ancient, primal head of security, a deep brain structure called the amygdala, perceives this new, uncertain action as a major threat to the system. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger in the grass and the fear of public speaking. The amygdala sounds the alarm, triggering a full-body, systemic security lockdown. This flood of stress hormones is designed to shut down the calm, rational CEO's office, the PFC, and default to old unsafe, tested survival protocols: fight, flight, or freeze. So when change feels impossible, it's not because you are weak, it's because your brain is trying to keep you safe. This is why you procrastinate on your dream's flight. It is why you become immobilized by self-doubt and perfectionism freeze. It is why you lash out in frustration at your own lack of progress fight. Your conscious, visionary CEO is being overruled by the powerful, subconscious security team. Escaping your timeline means learning to soothe the head of security, to keep the CEO online, even when the security alarms are blaring their song of fear. Understanding the neuroscience is the first step on the path. Now, let us translate that sacred knowledge into gentle, deliberate action. These are not tricks or hacks. These are practical, evidence-based techniques for consciously and lovingly rewiring the architecture of your soul. 1. Choose and embody your new identity. The first step is not to try harder. It is to decide, to choose. Close your eyes and ask your deepest self, who do I wish to become? Be incredibly specific and feel the answer. Do not just say, I want to be healthier. Define the living, breathing identity. I am a person who lovingly nourishes my body and finds joy in its movement. Instead of the vague wish, I want to procrastinate less. Feel into the truth of the new identity. I am a disciplined creator who honors my ideas by giving them form. This is not a game of words. It is a sacred act of giving your brain a new character to embody in the movie of your life. Then, you must begin to act as if. This is not being fake. It is being faithful to a future you. Make small, daily choices that align with that new self. Every time you perform a consistent action, you are lovingly laying down another inch of pavement on a new neural roadway. You are generating tangible evidence for your brain to begin building this new self-concept from the ground up. 2. Visualization and mental rehearsal. This is a flight simulator for your mind, a sacred dreaming space. A wealth of research has shown that when you vividly and sensorially visualize an action, your brain activates the very same neural circuits as it would if you were physically performing it. To your brain, a richly imagined experience is nearly indistinguishable from a real one. This means you can practice being your new self. You can walk those new neural pathways and strengthen them without ever leaving the stillness of your chair. Even more importantly, you can use this practice to calm the vigilant head of security, your amygdala, by mentally rehearsing yourself successfully and calmly navigating a challenge, a difficult conversation, a creative project. You are running a safety drill for your brain. You are gently teaching it that the outcome is safe, known, and manageable. You are moving the experience from the category of dangerous and unknown to familiar and possible. 3. Cognitive reframing. Your inner historian, the DMN, built your current identity using the raw footage of your past. To change the identity, you must become the gentle, wise film editor. You cannot change the raw footage. The past is the past. But you can change the story you tell with it. If your old story is a painful film called "I Always Fail," your new job is to scan the vast archives of your life for any scene, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, that contradicts this narrative. A small win you dismissed, a difficult lesson that made you wiser, a moment of resilience you forgot. Intentionally bring your focus to that footage. This is not about lying to yourself or engaging in toxic positivity. It is about choosing to curate a highlight reel that supports the future you intend to create. It's about giving your inner storyteller a new, more empowering, and more truthful script to read from. 4. Habit stacking and deliberate practice. To make your new identity feel natural and automatic, you must lovingly build habits that support it. Habit stacking is like a gentle dance, where you tuck the new, desired behavior right behind an existing, solid routine. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, existing habit, I will sit for 5 minutes and visualize my day, new habit. This uses the powerful momentum of the established habit to help pull the new one along, requiring far less activation energy to get it started. But this must be paired with deliberate practice. This means engaging in these new behaviors with a soft, focused attention. It is not enough to just go through the motions. You must be present with the act. This is where a practice like mindfulness meditation can be a profound game changer, as it has been shown in countless studies to help you regulate the wandering DMN and strengthen your PFC. To calmly and lovingly direct your attention where you choose. This is not just a beautiful theory or a philosophical hope. Neuroimaging studies of long-term meditators show that we can physically thicken the parts of the brain responsible for focus and emotional regulation. The PFC, while simultaneously quieting the activity in the parts responsible for obsessive mind wandering and self-referential rumination, the DMN. This directly suggests that we can, through intentional practice, train the very brain networks that construct and maintain our sense of self. Some fascinating research even suggests a link between a more stable, coherent, and integrated sense of self and the presence of certain stable, harmonious brainwave patterns. We can literally bring our mind into coherence. However, let us walk this path with wisdom and realism. This process is not a magic bullet or an instant fix. Deeply entrenched neural pathways, those 6-lane superhighways of habit and belief we have been paving for a lifetime, require sustained, patient effort to change. You cannot demolish a highway overnight and grow a forest in its place. We are speaking of weeks and months of consistent, loving practice, not an instantaneous transformation. And it is crucial to offer this compassionate guidance for anyone with a history of significant trauma. These identity states can be severely dysregulated. In those cases, trying to force a shift without the support of a skilled professional guide can be counterproductive or even harmful. These techniques are powerful, but they are not a substitute for therapy when deep wounds need healing. The goal is not to build a new, more perfect prison. The goal is to create an adaptive, fluid, and free sense of self. If this science, this quiet truth, resonates within you, if you feel that spark of recognition, that deep inner knowing that you are infinitely more than your current story, then the sacred work begins now. It starts not with a grand, dramatic gesture, but with a single, small, conscious decision. Choose one action today that the future version of you, the you who is already whole and free, would take. Just one. And if you are serious about becoming the loving architect of your own mind, subscribe and join a community of souls who are refusing to be defined by the ghosts of their past. You are not a static object, fixed in time and space. You are a dynamic, flowing process. Your identity is not a noun, it is a verb. It is something you are actively, sacredly creating in every single moment. The story of who you have been is just that, a story. And you have the power, a power embedded in the very biology of your brain, to begin telling a new one. The path out of your current timeline is not found by frantically looking for an escape route. It is found by patiently laying down a new track. Thought by conscious thought. Action by deliberate action. Until a new destination becomes not just possible, but inevitable. You are the architect. You are the builder. You are the clay. Now, it's time to build.